Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. As the year comes to a close, Turkish exports are continuing to gain steam. The country posted record figures for November, the fifth month in a row it crossed previous highs. That brings this year's 11-month total to nearly $232 billion. The positive numbers helped Turkey reduce its trade deficit, which fell around 32% year on year. Those record trade figures came despite the February 6 earthquakes that some estimates say cost the country about $6 billion in exports. The European Union was the biggest market for Turkish goods, comprising nearly 39% of last month's exports, with Germany taking the largest share. And those numbers could get a boost if a recent report by the European Commission is carried out. Some of the proposed measures include restarting several high-level trade talks, including discussions on modernizing the decades-old EU-Turkiye Customs Union. The Commission also covered easing visa restrictions on Turkish business travelers and students. But will that be enough to put to rest long-running disputes over trade and the movement of goods and people? And to further discuss the EU's latest report on its trade ties with Turkey, joining me from Istanbul is Aylin Ünvernoi. She is an associate professor at Haliç University. And from London, Ozan Özkural. He is the founder and managing partner of Tento Capital Partners. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Ozan, what's the main driving force behind the increase in Turkey's exports, you think?
I think one of the main driving forces behind Turkey's exports is the realization in the world that the world cannot depend on Chinese manufacturing as much as it did before. So obviously no country is large enough to absorb the scale of manufacturing that is done in China. However, Turkey offers a very dependable and geostrategically plausible semi-hedge against over-interdependence in Chinese manufacturing. That's number one. And number two, it's basically just a scale and scope. And in a market where costs are going to be driven, Turkey's competitiveness still remains quite attractive.
So, Aylin, do trade ties between Turkey and the European Union live up to the expectations when we look at today's figures?
Actually, there is high expectations and from both sides, especially after this joint communication issued last week. So, because it suggests many things, including the modernizing the customs union. This is what Turkey expecting for a long time. But there are also still has conditions. This is the negative side of that. And also reinstating high-level dialogues. This is another important issue, which is beneficial for both sides, especially when we think about that all this will be on energy, transport, and other sectors, and especially on economy. This is good for both sides and will provide more beneficial in terms of trade relations as well.
So what do you make of Ozan, the latest European Commission report, which, as I briefly mentioned, it proposes some updates, especially to Turkey's customs union, resumption of high-level dialogues on various sectors like energy, transportation, and infrastructure projects. What do you make of it? Is this a positive step forward, or does it come with some obligations?
Look, I think on the whole, it definitely is a positive step forward, but as any agreement, it does come with strings. Ultimately, European Union will want to get most out of Turkey, and Turkey will want to get most out of European Union. The one area I would focus on, which is not yet being talked as much as it should, is the impact on Turkish exports to the European Union that will be severely disrupted potentially by this CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, which is becoming live in January 2024. And there's a 3-year grace period for companies to comply with European Union levels of kind of green transition. Mm-hmm. This area will probably be the thorniest issue to be discussed over the coming months and possibly even years. But on the whole, it very much is a step towards normalization, I should say, and better for both economies. Now, I do think that the strings that will come attached with this will be more political rather than economic. So I think we will see where we get to on that basis over the next year, perhaps.
So, Aylin, could this report help resume negotiations which have stalled for years between Turkey and the European Union, or are there some other factors at stake? What are the challenges here?
Actually, the major challenge is that still the report has one-sided approach towards Turkey, ignoring Turkish interests and its concerns and security concerns or other kind of concerns. So it's just one-sided. It's just taking into consideration some member states' concerns more. And also, for instance, when we look into the customs union, there's one condition, which is effective implementation of the current customs union to all EU member states. So this is just controversial with the Turkey's position because Turkey does not recognize the Greek Cypriot administration. After the Greek Cypriot administration became member of the EU without the settlement of the Cyprus issue, created this kind of problems, and it's also become part of the customs union agreement and its modernization efforts. It's one of the conditions. Another one is about Turkey does not align itself with the EU sanctions or restrictive measures against Russia. This is another condition put in the report for resuming the negotiation. So these are still waiting for to be solved between two parts. But there are still, of course, some optimistic opportunities reinstating the high-level dialogues. These dialogues were suspended in 2019 on energy and economy and transport, as you know. So reinstatement of these high-level dialogues is a good opportunity for both sides, at least as a platform to discuss.
So, Ozan, the European Union still remains one of the biggest markets for Turkish goods, but has that started to change? I mean, is Turkey searching for newer and emerging markets, especially in the global south?
Look, that's a great question. I believe that every country, including, of course, Turkey, should always be searching to hedge their over-interdependence in any one jurisdiction. Now, European Union will remain to be the largest trading partner of Turkey, the largest export market of Turkey. But this does not mean that Turkish companies should not explore the global south, especially in the context of the geopolitical headwinds heading towards the whole world, frankly. So alliance structures are being redefined. The notions of nearshoring and friendshoring will become more and more important. And Turkey has a great opportunity in being able to capture more of the global south and more of effectively Eastern Hemisphere. So to the extent that the consumer markets and the demand is there, Turkey and Turkish companies should very much explore the global south. Now, the normalization between the relationships at the political level between most of GCC countries and Turkey is also a great step forward, in that GCC, in addition to providing capital and investment, also offers a way into other parts of the global south that Turkey has not yet explored so far. So on the whole, absolutely, Turkey should explore the global south, but without losing fact that the major market will tend to remain European Union and the Western Hemisphere.
So, Aylin, as we've just mentioned, Turkey's exports to Gulf countries are also surging, with Saudi Arabia taking first place. So how has Turkey's rapprochement with the regional countries affected its overall trade in the wider region, and where do you think this is headed?
Of course, it affects us positively, and also it's also has a positive impact on EU-Turkey relations as well. Normalization of Turkey's relations with regional countries, and also providing or recovering ties, economic and trade ties with these regional countries has a great impact on the EU. And also this report also mentioned about this normalization process and its possible effects on that, particularly on the topic under the East Mediterranean Conference. it also includes Turkey, and also mentioned about not just the cooperation on energy issue, but also cooperation on other sectors as well. So any normalization or rapprochement between Turkey and the regional countries might have a positive impact on Turkey-EU relations as well, as far as I understand. So the development of Turkey's trade and economic ties with the Gulf countries as well, so will have a good impact on its relations with the other countries.
So Ozan, what sectors does Turkey need foreign investment in the most, and which countries are best suited to provide that funding and the capital?
Look, what I want to underline on that question is what sectors Turkey should be focusing more on in order to make sure that we are future compliant. And I cannot think of a more important sector than the semiconductor manufacturing industry's growth in Turkey. So at the moment, the short answer, the kind of short-term answer is, look, a lot of sectors need recapitalization. Cost of funding across the world is increasing. The world is looking to reprice risk across the entire spectrum. So investments in the energy infrastructure, absolutely. Investments in infrastructure in general, definitely. But also investments in the semiconductor manufacturing sector, for that to become a critical sector, as this will define world dynamics going forward over the next decade. In terms of which countries would be best suited to make these investments, in terms of the energy infrastructure, I do believe that Gulf states are both experienced and obviously familiar with the Turkish dynamics, so they could play a very significant role. The challenge there being that a lot of the Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia, will be looking to attract inward investment as opposed to invest outside, with the exception of Abu Dhabi and UAE, perhaps.
Yes.
When it comes to the semiconductor manufacturing industry, though, by far and away, United States and Western Europe will be the lead, because that friction between United States and its allies and China and its allies will define our next decade.
All right, Ozan and Aylin, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.